This is Captain's Log with your host, Captain Mark Gray. Welcome aboard.
If you take care of your boat, when the going gets rough, your boat will take care of you. This may save your life or that of a loved one. This is Captain's Log, and we'll be right back. Please welcome our guest, Mr. Chuck Stanton of Anchor's Way Marine.
Thank you.
Well, Chuck, for the new boat owner, Anchor's Way Marine, by the way, is a boat yard, or what is referred to as a boat yard. And if I were a new boat owner or someone that had never touched a boat, could you explain to them a definition of what a boat yard is and does?
Well, a boat yard, I kind of think, is a body shop for boats. It takes care of your engine, takes care of your hull sides, your rigging if you happen to be a sailboat. It has people that are professionally trained to do shipwright work and carpentry on the interior, the electrical work, almost anything that would come up that needs repair on a boat. That's what a full-service boat yard does, and that's what Anchor's Way Marine does.
If you say full service, then I would imagine there is a self-service. Could you explain the difference between that?
You're right, Mark. Most yards have a do-it-yourself or self-service part of their business. And the way this works is that the owner can contract with the yard to rent space in the yard, which includes electrical, air, fresh water, a ladder, something like that. And then in the case of Anchor's Way, it's $1 a foot per day. So if you had a 30-foot boat, we would charge you $30 a day to rent a space, and you could work on the boat yourself. If you get stuck on something, let's say you're trying to change a bearing or you're having a problem taking your prop off, if you ask the people in the yard, then they will do the jobs that you're not capable of doing or you don't have the time to do. Or should you get discouraged, then they'll pick up where you left off and finish the job. So it's kind of an opportunity to learn to work on your own boat, to draw on the knowledge of people that do this for a living. And through that, you can learn pretty much by emulating what they do and buying the materials that they use, do the same kind of work on a do-it-yourself basis. And you can save a little bit of money that way.
Do you know approximately the cost difference for, say, painting your bottom on a 22-foot boat versus having it done?
Yeah, it varies from yard to yard, but what you're really doing here is you're saving the labor. That's what you're saving. And you'll save a little bit on materials because you can go out and buy through mail-order marine stores, through discount marine stores, and get real good prices on paint, whereas a yard may give you a moderate discount. You can probably do better on discounts by buying your own materials. So you'll save a little bit on materials. You'll save all the labor. What do you trade off for that? You trade off the lay-day charges that the yard will bill you for the time that you're in the yard. So a boat yard could put a bottom on a 30-foot or 40-foot boat round trip in about 3 days. 1 day to let the boat dry out, 1 day to paint it, and the third day to put it in the water. A do-it-yourself owner that's knowledgeable can do the same thing. Mm-hmm. One that isn't, he may take a week. And the clock is running, so it may turn out to be a wash. So, you have to pick the jobs that you want to do, that you can do yourself, and then the ones that you can't do, let the yard take care of it. And of course, when the yard's working on the boat, then there's no lay charges.
Right. I did that with my boat, brought it in and had it surveyed all at one time in a 24-hour period, painted the bottom myself, but the things that were found to be wrong on the survey, such as packing bearings and shafts and all that, I let the yard do. Because
that would be the right way to do it.
I feel that they're an expert, and also the liability factor that should, they do something and it doesn't come out right, they will pull the boat up and fix it for free, whereas I would have to pay if I did
That's right. That's a good point. If you get into something like a through-hull fitting or a valve's not being a difficult item, but through-hull fittings and packing or some kind of machinery redesign, the yard's responsible for that work. And should it go badly, should there be a leak, then the yard has to rehaul a boat and fix the work. If you did it, then it's on your ticket. You pay for the rehaul. You pay for the rework.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well, I understand that we have a slideshow, and I wonder if we could go to that now and have you watch the monitor and explain it to our viewers.
What I did here is I took some pictures over the years of some horror stories that show up in the yard. This boat here was an explosion at sea. The owner had illegal starter and alternator on the boat. It ignited a gasoline fumes, and the boat blew up. The insurance company didn't pay off on that job, incidentally, because of the illegal parts to his engine. They were not marine parts. The surveyor discovered it, and his claim was history. See, there's not much left of it. This is a drunk driver that hit the breakwater in Ventura Harbor, flipped a bayliner over, took the bottom and the stern out, and fortunately he didn't hurt himself too much. But the boat was towed in upside down to the yard. We hauled it out and scrapped it. This is an interior of a sailboat where the alcohol stove overflowed, ignited, and burnt the entire inside of the boat out. The headliner, the curtains, it ignited the curtains and burnt the whole boat. As you can see, there's nothing left inside. This guy just went out in a little bit too much wind. But again, it's a judgment call. He shouldn't have been out there in the first place.
Yeah, I think we all get caught out there when it picks up sometimes.
This fellow didn't understand how to run his controls. You know, it's a good argument for taking a course in boating. He went in forward instead of reverse and tangled with a piling and took out the port bow. So that was quite a bit of damage, about $4,000. This is what boating's really all about. You see? So I thought I'd throw something in that's a little pleasant.
Yeah, well, it's always good to have something nice, like a moral of the story that saves
the moral of the story
after
is
the bad stuff.
Don't drive a boat drunk, I guess.
And take your time and get the proper training and pick the weather.
Right.
You know, really, the further out you're going, the more cautious and more experienced you should be. But I've seen a lot of people get killed just a mile or two offshore. You know, get in the water and can't get back to shore, and you know, they're gone, and that's the end of that.
Well, it's a simple one in that case. If your engine should ever fail and you are in close to shore, remember you do have an anchor. You know, that's how a lot of people get in trouble. They don't throw the anchor overboard soon enough. You know, if the engine dies, you can always check the engine again after you've anchored. But it's hard to check the engine after you're in the surf line.
Well, I know that you do find yourself in a situation where you fall overboard, and I mean, you don't perhaps, and I don't perhaps, but some people will out there, quite a few, to where they invite the girlfriend along that has no sailing experience, and they fall overboard or go overboard for a purpose, one purpose or another, and wind comes up, takes the boat away, and they find themselves in a bad or horrible situation. So it does happen quite a bit. What would you say the most types of boat injuries are that come to you? Is it drunken driving or bad pilots of the ship?
How a boat's
numbers.
If the boat's damaged, what's the most common occurrence? Grounding.
Grounding.
Running the boat aground. You got to have at least enough water so that the boat will float. It's not made to go on dry land.
Now, would that be mostly power or sail?
Power and sail. Power boats, it's usually the propellers. We get in too close to the riprap in a harbor and touch a blade, or they're anchored in the islands and the boat, the anchor drags a little bit and they don't realize how shallow they're in, and when they make their turn to get out, they ground out the props. Sailboats, they draw a little bit more water and they can ground almost anywhere where it's shallow water. It's a good idea to know where you are. It's a good idea to have a depth finder and also a chart that tells you the water depth, because it's kind of difficult to see just how deep the water is.